The small town of Willow Creek was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and secrets were hard to keep. But when Sweet Delights, a cupcake shop with pastel pink walls and a neon sign shaped like a frosted cupcake, opened on Main Street, it became the talk of the town. The shop's owner, Clara Beaumont, was a petite woman with a radiant smile and eyes that sparkled like sugar crystals. Her cupcakes were unlike anything Willow Creek had ever tasted, fluffy, moist, and bursting with flavors that left customers craving more. Lila Harper, a curious 17-year-old high school senior, was one of the first to visit. She pushed open the glass door, the bell jingling softly. The air smelled of vanilla and warm buttercream. Behind the counter, Clara arranged cupcakes in neat rows, her movements graceful, almost hypnotic. "Welcome, dear," Clara said, her voice as sweet as her treats. "First time here? Try the Midnight Velvet. It's my specialty." She slid a cupcake topped with deep purple frosting and silver sprinkles across the counter. Lila hesitated, clutching her backpack. How much?" "First one's free," Clara said, winking. "I want everyone in Willow Creek to fall in love with my cupcakes." Lila took a bite, and her eyes widened. The chocolate flavor was rich, almost intoxicating, with a hint of something she couldn't place, something warm, almost alive. "This is amazing," she mumbled, mouth full. Clara's smile deepened. "I'm so glad you think so. Come back soon, Lila." Lila froze. "How do you know my name?" Clara chuckled, wiping her hands on her apron. "Oh, small towns talk, don't they? I make it my business to know my customers." Lila nodded, uneasy but charmed. She left with a strange feeling, like she'd just made a promise she didn't understand. Over the next few weeks, Sweet Delights became a sensation. People lined up before the shop opened, desperate for Clara's cupcakes. Teachers brought them to school, parents served them at parties, and even grumpy old Mr. Jenkins, who hated sweets, was seen sneaking a cupcake at the park. But Lila noticed something odd. Customers seemed different after eating the cupcakes. Her best friend, Mia, who was usually shy, became bold, almost reckless, after eating a lemon bliss cupcake. Her math teacher, Mr. Carter, started missing classes, muttering about dreams that feel too real. One night, Lila overheard her parents whispering in the kitchen. "I can't stop thinking about those cupcakes," her mom said, her voice shaky. "It's like they're calling me." "Stop it, Karen," her dad snapped, but his hands trembled as he poured coffee. "It's just sugar." Lila's stomach twisted. She hadn't eaten another cupcake since her first visit, but the memory of that midnight velvet lingered, tugging at her mind. Something about Clara and her shop wasn't right. She decided to investigate. Lila recruited Mia and their friend Ethan, a tech-savvy junior with a knack for hacking, to dig into Clara's background. They met at the local diner, far from Sweet Delights. Lila slid into the booth, glancing over her shoulder. "I think Clara's hiding something," she said. "Her cupcakes, they're doing something to people." Mia rolled her eyes, licking frosting off her fingers from a cupcake she'd bought earlier. "You're being paranoid, Lila. They're just cupcakes." Ethan raised an eyebrow, adjusting his glasses. "I dunno, Mia. My cousin ate one and started sleepwalking. Said he saw a woman in his dreams telling him to come back." "Creepy." Lila leaned forward.
"Exactly.
"And Clara knew my name without me telling her. I checked online. There's no record of her before she came to Willow Creek. No social media, no history, nothing." Ethan grinned. "Sounds like a job for me. Let's see what I can find." That night, Ethan hacked into the town's property records and found that Sweet Delights was registered under a shell company, not Clara's name. The building had been abandoned for years, rumored to be haunted after fire in the 1970s killed a family who lived there. "Weird," Ethan texted Lila. "The company's address leads to a P.O. box in New Orleans. I'm digging deeper." The next day, Lila returned to the shop, pretending to browse. Clara was icing cupcakes, humming a tune that made Lila's skin prickle. "Back for more, Lila?" Clara asked without looking up. Yeah," Lila said, forcing a smile. "How do you make these?" "They're different." Clara's eyes flickered, sharp for a moment. Family recipe. Very old, very special. You wouldn't understand. Lila's heart raced, but she pressed on. Where'd you learn to bake? You're not from here, right? Clara set down her piping bag, her smile tight. Curious, aren't you? Let's just say I've traveled a lot. Picked up tricks along the way. Before Lila could ask more, a customer burst in, eyes wild. Clara, I need more of those midnight velvets. I can't sleep without them. It was Mrs. Thompson, the librarian, who was usually calm and composed. Clara handed her a box, her voice soothing. Take these, dear. They'll help. Lila left, her suspicions growing. That night, she dreamt of Clara standing in a dark forest, her hands covered in red frosting that dripped like blood. Lila woke up sweating, the taste of that cupcake still on her tongue. Lila, Mia, and Ethan decided to sneak into Sweet Delights after hours. Ethan disabled the shop's security cameras using a homemade device, and they slipped in through a back window. The kitchen was pristine, with stainless steel counters and jars labeled with strange names like Moon Petal Essence and Whisper Dust. What is this stuff? Mia whispered, holding up a jar of glowing blue powder. Don't touch it, Lila hissed. She opened a locked cabinet and found a leather-bound book, its pages yellowed and smelling of decay. The title read Recipes for the Soul. Inside were handwritten recipes, but they weren't for cupcakes. Words like binding, essence, and sacrifice jumped out. Ethan snapped photos of the pages. This isn't baking. This is witchcraft or something. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A soft hum filled the air, and the trio froze as Clara's voice echoed from the front of the shop. Who's there? They ducked behind a counter, hearts pounding. Clara entered the kitchen, her silhouette framed by moonlight. She wasn't smiling now. Her eyes scanned the room, and for a moment, Lila swore they glowed. You can't hide from me, Clara murmured, almost to herself. The trio waited until Clara left, then bolted out the window. Back at Ethan's house, they studied the photos. The recipes described using cupcakes to capture desires and bind wills. One page mentioned a ritual to feed the hunger of the old ones, requiring a final offering. This is bad, Lila said. She's not just baking. She's controlling people. Mia, who'd been quiet, spoke up. I ate another cupcake today. I feel weird, like something's pulling me back to her shop. Ethan grabbed her shoulders. Mia, you have to stop eating those things. I can't, Mia cried, tears streaming down her face. It's like I need them. Lila's stomach churned. She remembered the taste of that midnight velvet, the way it lingered. Was she affected too? The next day, Willow Creek was different. People moved like zombies, their eyes glassy, clutching cupcake boxes. The town square was filled with customers waiting for Sweet Delights to open. Lila watched from a distance, horrified. Even the mayor was there, muttering about needing just one more. Ethan called Lila, his voice urgent. I cross-referenced the book's recipes with some occult forums. Clara's using blood magic. The cupcakes are laced with something that makes people addicted, maybe even binds their souls. Souls? Lila asked, her voice shaking. Yeah. The final offering might be a sacrifice to some entity. We need to stop her. They decided to confront Clara, but first, they needed proof. Lila went to the shop, pretending to buy cupcakes. Clara was cheerful as ever, but her movements were too precise, almost unnatural. Something wrong, Lila? Clara asked, handing her a cupcake. Lila swallowed hard. Why do people keep coming back? What's in these? Clara's smile didn't waver. Just love, dear. And a little magic. Lila's blood ran cold. She left, meeting Ethan and Mia at the library. They found an old newspaper article about the 1970s fire at the shop's location. The family who died had been accused of witchcraft, and their daughter, Clara Beaumont, vanished after the fire. The photo showed a young Clara, identical to the woman running Sweet Delights. She's not human, Ethan whispered. Or at least, not anymore. That night, Mia disappeared. Lila and Ethan found a note in her room. I have to go to Clara. She needs me. They raced to the shop, breaking in again. Inside, the kitchen was lit by candles, and a strange symbol was drawn on the floor in red icing. Mia stood in the center, her eyes blank, holding a knife. "Mia, stop!" Lila shouted. Clara appeared, her voice like honey. "She's mine now. You will be too, Lila." Clara's eyes glowed red, and the air grew heavy, like a storm was brewing inside the shop. Lila and Ethan backed away, but the door slammed shut behind them. Mia raised the knife, her movements robotic. "Mia, fight it!" Lila screamed. Clara laughed, her voice echoing unnaturally.
"She can't."
"My cupcakes took her will. Soon they'll take yours too. The old ones are hungry, and your town is the perfect feast." Ethan pulled out his phone, frantically scrolling through the photos of the recipe book. "There's a reversal spell here. We need to destroy the source of her power, the oven." Clara's face twisted. "You think you can stop me? I've been feeding souls to the old ones for centuries." Lila grabbed a rolling pin, her heart pounding. "Ethan, keep her distracted." Ethan threw a jar of whispered dust at Clara, who shrieked as it exploded into blue smoke. Lila sprinted to the oven, a massive, ancient thing that pulsed with heat. She yanked open the door, revealing a glowing red crystal inside. It hummed with energy, and Lila felt the cupcakes pull stronger than ever. "Don't touch it!" Clara roared, lunging at her. Lila swung the rolling pin, smashing the crystal. A deafening scream filled the air, not Clara's, but something ancient and monstrous. The oven erupted in flames, and Clara collapsed, her body crumbling into ash. Mia dropped the knife, blinking as if waking from a dream. The shop burned as the trio fled. By morning, Sweet Delights was a pile of rubble, and Willow Creek's residents woke up confused, like they'd been in a trance. The cupcake spell was broken, but no one could explain what had happened. Lila, Ethan, and Mia never spoke of that night, but Lila couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching her. One day, she found a single cupcake on her doorstep, topped with purple frosting and silver sprinkles. A note read, "You can't destroy hunger." She burned it without taking a bite. The ashes of Sweet Delights still smoldered in Willow Creek, but the town was far from free. Lila couldn't shake the image of that cupcake on her doorstep, its purple frosting gleaming under the morning sun. The note, "You can't destroy hunger," burned in her mind. She hadn't told Ethan or Mia about it, afraid it would pull them back into the nightmare they'd barely escaped. At school, things were worse. People acted normal again, but Lila noticed subtle changes. Mrs. Thompson, the librarian, stared blankly at books, whispering to herself. Mr. Carter, the math teacher, scribbled strange symbols on the chalkboard during class. Even Mia, who'd been freed from Clara's spell, was quieter, her eyes darting nervously whenever cupcakes were mentioned. Lila met Ethan at the diner after school, sliding into their usual booth. "Something's still wrong," she said, keeping her voice low. "That cupcake on my porch. I think Clara's not gone." Ethan pushed his laptop toward her, his face pale. "I found something. That crystal you smashed? It's called a soul ember. Occult sites say it's a conduit for entities like the old ones Clara mentioned. Destroying it might have weakened her, but it didn't kill her." Lila's stomach dropped. "So she's still out there?" "Worse," Ethan said. "The soul ember scatters its energy when broken. Anyone who ate her cupcakes might still be connected to her." Lila thought of Mia, who'd eaten more cupcakes than anyone. "We need to check on Mia. Now." They found Mia at her house, sitting in her room with a blank stare. A half-eaten cupcake sat on her desk, its frosting the same purple as the one Lila had burned. "Mia, where'd you get that?" Lila asked, her voice trembling. Mia blinked slowly. "It appeared. I couldn't help it. It tastes so good, Lila." Ethan grabbed the cupcake and threw it out the window. "Mia, snap out of it. Clara's controlling you again." Mia's eyes filled with tears. "I'm trying, but I hear her voice in my head. She says she needs me for the ritual." "What ritual?" Lila pressed. Mia's voice was barely a whisper. The final offering. She needs one more soul to fully awaken the old ones. That night, Lila dreamed of Clara again, standing in a void of swirling shadows. "You can't run, Lila," Clara's voice echoed. "Your town belongs to me now." Lila woke up gasping, her room smelling faintly of vanilla. She checked her phone. Ethan had texted her a link to an old forum post about a cult in New Orleans that worshipped the hunger. They used baked goods to trap souls, and their leader, a woman named Celeste Beaumont, vanished after a fire in 1973. "Clara Celeste," Lila whispered, her heart racing. "She's been doing this for decades." Lila, Ethan, and Mia decided they had to find the source of Clara's power. The forum post mentioned a hidden temple in New Orleans where the cult stored their relics. If Clara was still alive, or whatever she was, they needed to destroy her connection to the old ones for good. "We can't tell anyone," Ethan said as they packed a bag in his garage. "The town's too far gone. Half the people are still under her influence." Mia nodded, her hands shaking. "I'm scared, but I want this to end. I don't want her in my head anymore." They borrowed Ethan's older brother's car and drove to New Orleans, a 6-hour trip that felt like an eternity. Lila kept checking the rearview mirror, half expecting Clara to appear in the back seat. The city greeted them with humid air and the distant sound of jazz. Following the forum's clues, they found an abandoned bakery in the French Quarter, its windows boarded up and its sign faded, "Beaumont's Treats." Inside, the air was thick with dust and the faint scent of sugar. They found a trapdoor under a rusted oven, leading to a basement lit by flickering candles. Symbols like the one in Clara's shop were carved into the walls, glowing faintly. At the center was a stone altar, stained with what looked like dried blood. "This is it," Ethan whispered, snapping photos. "The cult's temple." Mia clutched Lila's arm. "I feel her. She knows we're here." A cold laugh echoed through the room. Clara's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "You're brave, but foolish. The hunger can't be stopped." Lila spun around, her flashlight beam cutting through the dark. "Show yourself, Clara." A shadow moved, and Clara appeared, her form flickering like a bad hologram. "You destroyed my ember, but you can't destroy me. The old ones are already waking." Ethan held up a vial of salt he'd brought, remembering the forum's advice about repelling spirits. He threw it at Clara, and she hissed, her form wavering. "Run!" he shouted. They scrambled back to the car, but as they sped away, Lila saw Clara's face in the side mirror, smiling. Back in Willow Creek, the town was unraveling. People gathered in the streets at night, chanting in a language Lila didn't recognize. Cupcakes appeared everywhere, on doorsteps, in mailboxes, even in the school cafeteria. No one knew where they came from, but those who ate them fell deeper into Clara's control. Lila's parents were among them. "Why don't you eat, Lila?" her mom asked one night, her eyes glassy as she held out a cupcake. "It makes everything better." Lila backed away, tears stinging her eyes. "I'm not hungry." At school, Ethan showed Lila a new discovery. A hidden page in the recipe book's photos described a ritual to sever Clara's link to the old ones. It required a pure heart to reject her cupcakes completely and destroy her anchor, a relic tied to her soul. "It's gotta be you, Lila," Ethan said. "You only ate one cupcake and resisted her pull. Mia and I were too weak." Mia nodded, guilt in her eyes. "I keep dreaming of her. I don't know how long I can hold out." Lila felt the weight of their words. "Where's the anchor?" "The forum mentioned a locket," Ethan said. "Clara always wore it. If we find it, we can end this." They searched the ruins of Sweet Delights, sifting through ash and debris. Lila found a silver locket buried under a charred plank, its surface etched with the same symbols from the temple. When she touched it, a jolt of energy shot through her, and Clara's voice whispered, "You're mine." Lila dropped the locket, her hands shaking. "We need to destroy it. Tonight." That evening, they planned to perform the ritual at the town's old cemetery, where the forum said spiritual energy was strongest. But as they prepared, Mia vanished again. Lila found another note. She's ready to serve. The cemetery was eerie under the moonlight, gravestones casting long shadows. Lila and Ethan carried the locket, salt, and a candle, following the ritual's instructions. They found Mia standing near an ancient oak, her eyes glowing red like Clara's hat. "Mia, fight her!" Lila shouted. Mia's voice was Clara's.
"She's gone.
"And you'll join her soon." Ethan poured a circle of salt around Lila, chanting the reversal spell from the recipe book. The air grew heavy, and the ground trembled. Clara's form separated from Mia's, solidifying into a figure of smoke and shadow. "You think a child can stop me?" she snarled. Lila held the locket, her hands steady despite her fear. "You're done, Clara. You can't have my town." She smashed the locket with a rock, and Clara screamed, her form twisting. The candle flared, and a gust of wind blew through the cemetery. Mia collapsed, free but weak. Clara's shadow lunged at Lila, but Ethan threw more salt, and the figure dissolved into nothingness. "Is it over?" Lila whispered, helping Mia up. Ethan checked the locket's remains. "The symbols are gone. I think we did it." But as they left the cemetery, Lila felt a chill. The smell of vanilla lingered in the air. Weeks passed, and Willow Creek seemed to recover. People stopped chanting, the cupcakes vanished, and Lila's parents returned to normal. But Lila couldn't relax. She kept the ritual book, studying it for clues. Ethan hacked into more occult sites, finding references to the hunger as an entity older than time, unbound by a single vessel like Clara. One night, Lila woke to a knock at her door. No one was there, but a new cupcake sat on her porch, this time with black frosting and gold sprinkles. A note read, "The hunger thanks you." Lila burned it, her heart pounding. She called Ethan and Mia, who met her at the diner. "It's not over," she said, showing them the note. Clara was just a servant. The hunger's still out there. Mia shivered. "What do we do?" Ethan closed his laptop. "We fight. We know media proved that the baker was evil, that she was using her cupcakes to control people or bind their souls to some ancient entity. The story escalates with the discovery that Clara, or Celeste Beaumont, has been conducting these rituals for decades, possibly centuries, and that her influence lingers even after her apparent defeat. The narrative builds to a climactic ritual to destroy her anchor, a locket, and seemingly free the town from her control. However, the final twist suggests that the hunger, the entity Clara served, is far from defeated and continues to haunt Willow Creek. Lila stared at the note, "The hunger thanks you," her hands trembling as she held it over the diner's flickering candle. The black frosted cupcake she'd found on her porch was gone, burned to ash in her backyard, but its sickly sweet scent clung to her clothes. Ethan and Mia sat across from her, their faces pale in the dim light. "This isn't Clara," Lila said, her voice barely above a whisper. "She was just a puppet. The hunger's the real enemy." Ethan pushed his glasses up, his fingers twitching. "I've been digging deeper. The hunger isn't just some demon. It's ancient, like older than the universe ancient. It feeds on desires, twists them into obsession. Clara's cupcakes were its way in." Mia hugged herself, her eyes darting to the diner's windows. "I still hear it sometimes. Not Clara's voice, but something else. It wants me to eat again." Lila grabbed Mia's hand. "You're stronger than it. We beat Clara. We can beat this." But doubt not at Lila. The town seemed normal during the day. Kids played in the park, shops buzzed with customers. But at night, Willow Creek felt wrong. Streetlights flickered, shadows moved without reason, and Lila swore she heard whispers in the wind, like a chorus of voices begging for sweets. The next day, Lila found an old journal in the school library, tucked behind dusty history books. Its leather cover was worn, and the pages smelled faintly of vanilla. It belonged to a woman named Eliza Beaumont, dated 1890. The entries described a family gift for baking, passed down through generations, but warned of a price paid to the one who hungers. Eliza wrote about a ritual to appease it, using baked goods laced with blood and forbidden herbs. Lila showed the journal to Ethan and Mia. "This is Clara's family," she said. They've been feeding the hunger for centuries. Ethan's eyes widened. Look at this. He pointed to a sketch in the journal, a black frosted cupcake with gold sprinkles, identical to the one Lila found. Below it, Eliza had written, *, the hunger's mark. When it appears, the end is near, *. We need help, Mia said, her voice shaking. We can't do this alone. Lila nodded. We're going back to New Orleans. There's got to be someone who knows how to stop this. The trio drove back to New Orleans, the journal on Lila's lap like a ticking bomb. The city's vibrant streets felt oppressive now, the air heavy with secrets. They followed Eliza's journal to a voodoo shop in the French Quarter, its windows draped in red velvet and its sign reading Mama Lou's Mystics. Inside, the shop smelled of incense and old books. Mama Lou, a tall woman with silver braids and sharp eyes, greeted them. You're the kids from Willow Creek, she said, before they could introduce themselves. I felt the hunger stir. You've been meddling with things you don't understand. Lila held up the journal. We found this. It's about the Beaumonts and the hunger. Can you help us stop it? Mama Lou's eyes narrowed. The Beaumonts were my kin long ago. They turned dark, made a pact with the hunger for power. Clara was the last, but she wasn't the source. The hunger lives in the spaces between, feeding on what you crave most. Ethan stepped forward. How do we kill it? Mama Lou laughed, a dry, bitter sound. You don't kill what's eternal. You can only bind it, lock it away. But it'll cost you. What's the cost? Lila asked, her throat tight. Mama Lou's gaze softened. Something you love. The hunger always takes its due. She gave them a ritual from an ancient text requiring 3 ingredients, a relic of the Beaumonts, the journal, a drop of blood from someone touched by the hunger, Mia, and the heart of someone who resisted it, Lila. They had to perform it at the hunger source, the temple beneath Beaumont streets. As they left, Mama Lou grabbed Lila's arm. Be careful, child. The hunger knows your name now. That night, in a cheap motel, Lila dreamt of a void where shadowy figures ate cupcakes endlessly, their faces melting into darkness. She woke to find Mia standing over her, holding a knife, her eyes glowing faintly. It's so hungry, Lila, Mia whispered. Ethan tackled Mia, pinning her down. Fight it, Mia. You're stronger than this. Mia blinked, the glow fading. I'm sorry, she sobbed. It's getting harder to say no. Lila's heart ached. They had to act fast. The trio returned to the abandoned bakery, the trapdoor creaking as they descended into the temple. The air was colder now, the symbols on the walls pulsing with faint light. The stone altar was covered in fresh cupcakes, their black frosting glistening like oil. Who's doing this? Ethan whispered, his voice shaking. Lila clutched the journal. The hunger. It's not waiting for Clara anymore. They set up the ritual, placing the journal on the altar and drawing a circle of salt around it. Mia pricked her finger, letting a drop of blood fall onto the journal's pages. Lila hesitated, her hand trembling as she held a knife over her palm. The heart didn't mean her literal heart, Mama Lou had said, just her will, her resistance. But it still felt like giving up a piece of herself. As Lila cut her palm, the temple shook. A low growl echoed, and the cupcakes on the altar began to melt, their frosting forming a pool of black liquid. A voice boomed, deep and ancient. You cannot bind me. I am endless. Mia screamed, clutching her head. It's in me. It's so loud. Lila grabbed her shoulders. Stay with us, Mia. We're almost done. Ethan chanted the binding spell, his voice steady despite the chaos. The black liquid rose, forming a shadowy figure with no face, only a gaping mouth. It lunged at Lila, but she threw salt at it, and it recoiled, shrieking. Now, Lila, Ethan shouted. Lila slammed her bleeding hand onto the journal, reciting the final words of the spell. The temple erupted in light, and the shadow dissolved, its scream fading into silence. The cupcakes crumbled to dust, and the symbols on the walls went dark. Mia collapsed, sobbing. It's gone. I don't hear it anymore. But Lila felt a lingering coldness in her chest. The journal was ash now, but the air still smelled of vanilla. Back in Willow Creek, the town seemed to heal. The strange chant stopped, the cupcakes vanished, and people returned to their routines. Lila's parents hugged her, apologizing for their behavior, though they couldn't explain it. Mia smiled again, her eyes clear for the first time in weeks. Ethan buried himself in his laptop, researching to ensure the hunger was truly gone. But Lila couldn't shake her unease. At night, she heard whispers, not words, just a soft hum that reminded her of Clara's tune. She checked her porch every morning, half expecting another cupcake. None appeared, but the fear lingered. One day, Mama Lou called Lila's phone, her voice urgent. "You bound the hunger, but it's not destroyed. It's sleeping, waiting for a new vessel. Keep your heart strong, girl. It'll come for you again." Lila hung up, her hands shaking. She didn't tell Ethan or Mia. They'd been through enough. But she started carrying salt in her backpack, just in case. At school, a new teacher arrived, Ms. Evelyn, with a warm smile and a habit of bringing homemade treats to class. Lila refused to eat them, her stomach twisting at the sight of frosting. Ethan noticed her tension and pulled her aside. "You okay? You've been jumpy." "It's not over," Lila whispered. "I feel it." Ethan frowned. "I checked every occult site. The hunger's bound. We won." Lila wanted to believe him, but when she passed Ms. Evelyn in the hall, the teacher's eyes lingered on her, and Lila swore they flickered red for a moment. That night, Lila found a note under her pillow, written in elegant script. "You tasted me once. You'll taste me again." No cupcake, no frosting, just the words and the faint scent of vanilla. Lila didn't sleep. She sat up all night, the note clutched in her hand, her mind racing. The hunger wasn't just a monster, it was a force woven into the fabric of Willow Creek, maybe the world. She thought of Clara, Eliza, the Beaumonts, all serving it, all consumed by it. Was she next? She called Ethan and Mia to the cemetery, the only place she felt safe. The oak tree where they'd fought Clara loomed over them, its branches swaying in the wind. "It's not over," Lila said, showing them the note. "The hunger's coming back, and I think Ms. Evelyn's part of it." Mia's eyes widened. "She gave me a cookie yesterday. I didn't eat it, but I wanted to." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "We need to watch her. If she's a new vessel, we can stop her before it starts again." They followed Ms. Evelyn after school, keeping their distance. She drove to the edge of town, to a small house with a garden full of strange, glowing flowers. Through the window, they saw her baking, her movements eerily similar to Clara's. A tray of cupcakes sat on the counter, black frosted with gold sprinkles. "It's happening again," Lila whispered, her heart pounding. They broke into the house that night, armed with salt and the binding spell. Ms. Evelyn was waiting, her smile cold. "You're persistent, Lila," she said, her voice echoing with the hunger's growl. "But you can't fight what you crave." Lila threw salt at her, but Ms. Evelyn didn't flinch. "I'm not Clara," she said. "The hunger chose me because you weakened it. Now it needs you to finish what she started." Ethan and Mia chanted the binding spell, but it faltered. Ms. Evelyn laughed, her eyes glowing red. "You bound it once, but it's part of you now. Taste it, Lila, and be free." A cupcake appeared in her hand, its frosting shimmering. Lila felt the pull, the same craving from that first midnight velvet. Her mouth watered, but she clenched her fists, remembering Mama Lou's warning. "No!" Lila shouted, grabbing the cupcake and smashing it into the floor. The house shook, and Ms. Evelyn screamed, her form flickering. Ethan and Mia finished the spell, and the glowing flowers outside withered. Ms. Evelyn collapsed, her eyes normal again, confused. They burned the cupcakes and fled. The next day, Ms. Evelyn left town, claiming she couldn't remember why she'd come to Willow Creek. The town stayed quiet, but Lila knew better. The hunger was patient. It would wait. One morning, as Lila walked to school, she found a single gold sprinkle on her porch. No cupcake, no note, just the sprinkle, glinting in the sun. She crushed it under her shoe, but the whispers in her mind grew louder. promising sweetness, promising power. Lila didn't know if she could keep fighting, but she knew she'd never stop trying. Lila couldn't stop checking her porch. Every morning, she swept the steps, searching for gold sprinkles or worse, a cupcake. The single sprinkle she'd crushed days ago felt like a warning, a sign the hunger was watching, waiting. At night, the whispers in her mind grew louder, promising sweetness, urging her to give in. She hadn't told Ethan or Mia about them, afraid they'd think she was weak. Willow Creek was calm on the surface, but cracks were showing. People smiled less, their eyes darting nervously. The bakery's ruins had been cleared, replaced by a vacant lot, but kids whispered about seeing shadows there at night. Lila overheard her parents arguing in hushed tones about dreams filled with frosting and blood. At school, Lila met Ethan and Mia in the library, her hands stuffed in her pockets to hide their trembling. "The hunger's not gone," she said, keeping her voice low. "I found a sprinkle on my porch. It's coming back." Mia's face paled. "I thought we stopped it." "Miss Evelyn's gone. The cupcakes are gone." Ethan cut her off, his laptop open. "It's not that simple. I found more on those occult forums. The hunger's like a virus. It spreads through vessels like Clara and Evelyn, but it's always there, waiting for a crack to slip through. We didn't kill it. We just pushed it back." Lila pulled out Eliza Beaumont's journal, now brittle and singed from the ritual. This mentioned a source for the hunger, something older than the Beaumonts. "If we find it, maybe we can destroy it for good." Mia shook her head, her voice shaky. "What if we can't? What if it's bigger than us?" Lila met her eyes. "We don't have a choice. It knows my name, Mia. It's not going to stop." Ethan found a lead in the journal, a reference to a first offering buried in a place called the Hollow, a forest outside Willow Creek where no one went. Locals called it cursed, saying the trees whispered at night. The journal hinted that the Beaumont's pact began there, with a relic that anchored the hunger to the world. "We're going to the Hollow," Lila said, her voice firm despite the fear clawing at her chest. "Tonight." That evening, as they packed flashlights and salt, Lila's mom caught her at the door. "Where are you going, Lila?" "It's late." "Just a school project," Lila lied, avoiding her mom's glassy eyes. She wondered if the hunger was already creeping back into her parents. The hollow was darker than Lila expected, the trees twisted and bare despite it being spring. The air smelled faintly of sugar, and the ground felt soft, like it was breathing. "This place is wrong," Mia whispered, clutching a vial of salt. Ethan checked his phone's GPS. The journal said the relic's buried near a stone circle. "Keep your eyes open." As they moved deeper, the whispers in Lila's head grew louder, forming words. "Taste me. Be mine." She gripped her flashlight, refusing to listen. The stone circle was hidden in a clearing, 5 jagged rocks arranged like teeth in the earth. The air buzzed with energy, and the ground was littered with gold sprinkles that glowed faintly in the moonlight. Lila's stomach twisted. The hunger was here. Ethan knelt by the largest stone, brushing dirt away. "There's something buried here. Help me dig." They used their hands, clawing at the soil until they uncovered a small, iron box etched with symbols like those in Clara's shop. Inside was a blackened, heart-shaped stone that pulsed like a heartbeat. Lila felt its pull, the same craving she'd fought since that first cupcake. "This is it," she said. "The first offering." Mia backed away, her eyes wide. "It's alive. I can feel it." Before they could act, the ground shook, and a voice boomed, deeper than Clara's, older than time. "You cannot take what is mine." Shadows rose from the sprinkles, forming a towering figure with no face, only a gaping mouth filled with stars. The hunger. Lila's flashlight flickered, and Mia screamed, dropping her salt. Ethan grabbed the stone, chanting the binding spell from Mama Lou. The figure roared, its voice shaking the trees. "You are nothing. Your desires feed me." Lila threw salt at it, and the figure flinched, its form wavering. "Keep chanting, Ethan," she shouted, grabbing the stone from him. It burned her hands, but she held on, feeling the hunger's voice in her mind. "Eat. Surrender." Mia snapped out of her panic, joining Ethan's chant. The figure shrank, but it lashed out, knocking Lila to the ground. The stone rolled free, and the hunger's voice grew louder. You will all be mine. Lila crawled to the stone, her vision blurring. She remembered Mama Lou's warning. The hunger takes what you love. She loved her friends, her town, her family. She couldn't let it win. With a scream, she smashed the stone against a rock, shattering it. A blinding light erupted, and the hunger's form dissolved, its scream echoing into silence. The sprinkles turned to ash, and the air cleared. Is it over? Mia whispered, helping Lila up. Ethan checked the box. The symbols are gone. I think we did it. But Lila's hands still burned, and the whispers, though faint, lingered. Willow Creek felt lighter the next day. The sun seemed brighter, the air cleaner. People smiled again, and the strange tension that had gripped the town was gone. Lila's parents hugged her at breakfast, their eyes clear, their voices warm. You seem tired, honey, her mom said. Everything okay? Lila nodded, forcing a smile. Just a long week. At school, Mia was herself again, laughing with friends. Ethan showed Lila a forum post he'd found. The hunger's bound again. Whoever did it, you're heroes. Lila wanted to believe it, but the burns on her hands hadn't healed, and the whispers, though quieter, were still there. She visited the hollow alone, checking the stone circle. The iron box was empty, the ground normal. But as she turned to leave, she saw a single gold sprinkle glinting in the dirt. She crushed it, her heart racing, but the whispers grew louder, saying her name. That night, Lila dreamt of the hunger, not as a shadow but as a woman with her face, holding a cupcake. You can't escape what you are, it said. She woke up gasping, her room smelling of vanilla. She called Mama Lou, her voice shaking. It's still here. I broke the stone, but it's not gone. Mama Lou's voice was grave. You weakened it, child, but the hunger's part of the world now. It'll always find a way back, through desire, through greed. You've got to stay strong. Lila hung up, tears in her eyes. She didn't know if she could keep fighting forever. A month later, a new bakery opened in Willow Creek, called Sugar Haven. Its owner, a young woman named Nora, had a warm smile and eyes that sparkled like Clara's. She handed out free cookies at the grand opening, and the town flocked to her shop, just like they had for Sweet Delights. Lila watched from across the street, her burns throbbing. She hadn't told Ethan or Mia about the whispers, afraid they'd break under the truth. But when she saw Nora pass a cookie to Mia, who took it with a dazed smile, Lila knew the hunger had found a new vessel. She confronted Nora that night, breaking into the bakery after hours. The kitchen was filled with cookies, their frosting black with gold sprinkles. Nora turned, unsurprised. You're Lila, she said, her voice soft but edged with something ancient. The hunger speaks of you. You're not Nora, Lila said, gripping a vial of salt. You're it. Nora's eyes glowed red. You can't stop what's eternal. Join me, Lila. You've tasted it. You know its power. Lila threw the salt, and Nora hissed, her form flickering. You're weak without your friends, Nora said, stepping closer. They'll betray you, just like they'll eat my treats. Lila grabbed a tray of cookies and smashed it, the frosting splattering like blood. The bakery shook, and Nora screamed, her body crumbling like Clara's hat. The cookies turned to ash, and the shop went silent. Lila ran home, her burns searing. She found Ethan and Mia waiting, their faces grim. We know, Ethan said. Mia ate a cookie. She heard the hunger again. Mia sobbed. I'm sorry, Lila. I didn't mean to. Lila hugged her. We'll fight it together. Always. The new bakery closed, and Nora vanished, but Lila knew the hunger wasn't gone. It was patient, waiting for another vessel, another chance. She, Ethan, and Mia formed a pact to watch for signs, sprinkles, whispers, anything. They told no one, afraid the town wouldn't believe them. Lila visited Mama Lou one last time, seeking answers. How do I live with this? She asked, showing her scarred hands. Mama Lou sighed. You carry the hunger's mark now, child. It'll always know you. But you've got a strong heart. That's why it fears you. Lila returned to Willow Creek, determined to protect her town. She kept salt in her pocket, checked her porch daily, and ignored the whispers that grew fainter but never stopped. Ethan built a website to track occult activity, warning others about the hunger. Mia started a support group for those recovering from the cupcakes' effects, though no one spoke of it openly. One night, Lila found a letter in her mailbox, no stamp, no address. Inside was a single sentence: "You'll crave me forever." No cupcake, no sprinkles, just the words, written in frosting. She burned the letter, but as the flames rose, she saw a shadow in the smoke, formless but watching. The hunger wasn't gone. It was part of her now, part of the world. Lila clenched her fists, her scars aching. She'd fight it every day, every night, for as long as it took. As she walked to school the next morning, a breeze carried the scent of vanilla. Lila didn't flinch. She'd tasted the hunger, but she'd never let it win.